I never thought of my work in terms of a painter. I mean, I'm a storyteller, and I use drawing and painting to help me tell that story. The Lion and the Mouse is a somewhat wordless picture book. For some reason, because I knew the story so well, I thought the art was important and it could lead off and help shape a text. But in the process of reworking and reworking, discovered that I was telling the story without words. And then my great-grandchild was fascinated, like all children, with sounds. And I thought, boy, that might be a way of, in a sense, bringing another life or another voice to the book. And that's when I began to add the sounds that you might find from the Serengeti and from those creatures.
The world of Dinotopia keeps unfolding for me into new areas, and I almost feel like an explorer myself as I write the books. For example, in Chandara, where we'll be visiting in the new book, are all the feathered dinosaurs that we've been hearing about lately, and they do exist in Dinotopia. I have a pet parakeet that sits next to me while I'm painting, and he likes to sometimes jump on my shoulder, and it reminds me that birds are actually dinosaurs that are alive today. They're direct descendants of dinosaurs. And when I watch how he preens and how he moves and how he calls and all these sorts of things, I realize that it's not that different from the way a dinosaur would move and behave. So you'll probably see some things in the book that are inspired by my pet parakeet.
I was born in New Rochelle, New York. When I was about 4 years old, my parents moved to West Arlington, Vermont. Then I went to college at Haverford College outside of Philadelphia and was an English major. And I had no interest in being an artist until, really by accident, I took a sculpture course in my junior year, and I just fell in love with sculpture. My father grumped and groaned for 2 or 3 years after I told him I wanted to be a sculptor. He said being a painter, like my oldest brother Jarvis was not very economic. Being a poet, like my middle brother Tom was less economic, but he said the worst thing he could think of for making a living that there was being a sculptor. And I've proven him wrong.
The founding of National Geographic Society was to share with the world knowledge of geography in the world we live in.
The society began in January 1888. The magazine began in October. And so it's never missed an issue. Through war, feast, famine, we've managed to produce a magazine and occasionally special editions of the magazine.
The project today and for the next 18 months is a book about the building of the human body, and I've been working on it on and off for the last 3 years now. It's something I wanted to do 15 or 20 years ago, but I was too smart. I knew it was going to be too complicated. But I wanted to know how the body worked. I wanted to know how all the bits and pieces went together, why they looked the way they did, and so on and so forth. So I've decided to do it. I've decided to give it the time it takes. I'm going to take an anatomy course, and I've done all the reading, lots of reading so far. I'm still looking for that concept. I'm still looking for that big structure that will tie it all together. but I'm spending time in an anatomy lab and working with wonderful people who are amazingly generous with their knowledge and their information and with their enthusiasm for that information. And that's contagious. That really is part of what keeps me going. They're opening my eyes to seeing the body the way I want to see it, but had never seen it.
Feeling like an outsider is a useful means of being able to comment on what's happening and maybe finding some reality, not that it guarantees that by any means, but that has been part of the experience of looking at things and trying to make stories about them and examine them and hold it up to the light. It's also interesting to see how society over the years has changed to the point where the things that we were like the nerdy guys interested in it's now a social phenomenon of every single movie virtually, and clearly it wasn't as off-center, and the nerdy guys somehow have gained power or something. I could have definitely used some of it in junior high school, but having said that, better late than never.